let's go over some openings. So give me some openings, guys. Alekhine. Oh, Alekhine's pretty easy to play. So we're gonna go over the Alekhine, or Alekhine, right? So basically, what we're gonna go over is how to play this move, right? So this is Hypermodern opening, right? Not classical at all. And basically, you're giving white space here, and they're going to attack you. And so there are a lot of different lines that you can play here. D4 being one of the most common ideas, right? D4, and I've seen D6 happen, knight F3. Knight C6 can happen a lot, and then C4. Play back here, right? When they take, you have an option which way you want to take, and then white has to respond in the best way, right? If you play this way, you're looking to fee and kettle your bishop and play here. The best line, in my recommendation, is to play B3 bishop here and try to challenge this bishop on the diagonal. This is by far the most common line, and I think this is my personal preference when playing this as white, or against it as white. Now, if you're playing this way, you have to be a bit careful, right? But you're looking maybe to trade off bishops. Sometimes you can play bishop here and castle kingside very quickly. Sometimes you might even play D5, where you can try to undermine this pawn later, maybe something like this. You have to make sure that you have a square for this guy. In some cases, in very rare lines, you're going to play C5 as well. So that's how you would play this opening, and you're looking for those two breaks. My opinion, I think that E takes is a main theory. I personally recommend you play just to play C takes and play G6. I think from a beginner standpoint, this is an easier way to play the Alekhine. How to play the French for white. How I usually play against the French. Do you guys want that? It's so strong. And especially if you're at a lower level, and I can teach it to you in literally a minute. It's so simple. It's so easy to follow. So we're going over how to play the Chigorin variation against the French, right? So we're going to play as white. We're going to play with E4. And if you're a French player, why are you playing the French? Go play checkers if you want a boring game. You know what I mean? So E4, E6, and we're going to play Queen E2. And the idea on Queen E2 is that if they play D5, we're going to take. Now, if they play Knight F6 here, trying to be sneaky, cheeky, breaky, right? Let's say after Queen E2, they play Knight F6. We say, so what? And we meet D5. Instead of taking, we play D3. We always let them take, and we develop in a very similar way, usually playing C3, right? But let's say they play mainline, and they play D5, right? E6, D5. Takes, Queen takes. And now we play Knight F3. And actually, we can even put the evaluation on. You can see this. It might say that black has equalized, but honestly, in my opinion, and in practical play of playing the Chigorin a lot, that doesn't matter because you know the plans, you know the ideas, right? So the idea is to make this bishop really bad or this knight really bad. That is the main idea. So let's say they play Knight F6, we're going to play G3, right? And so now if they choose to play Knight C6 here, right? Bishop here. And then a lot of people would choose to play bishop d7, but this is actually not the best. This is actually a mistake. The bishop being here is really, really better because now when we castle, we are going to go play. In a lot of your games, you'll see a lot of people either play Queen A5 or Queen back to D8. And here we just get a huge advantage. We can just play C3, D4. But if they try to play here, castles. And let's say they want to play their bishop here. If they ever move this knight, you play knight e5 immediately. Knight e5 is pivotal, and you take this bishop. The reason that you're gunning for this bishop is because we're not going to have anybody that's going to contest this bishop, right? Our bishop is going to become extremely good while their bishop is going to become really, really bad, right? So let's say they have other moves. They have bishop e7 as well. On bishop e7, so what? We just castle. We play very natural moves. We keep developing our pieces. And after they castle, you can see that this bishop doesn't really have a future, right? So let's play c3, and now some people are like, oh, let's play b6 and try to develop our pieces. Maybe play here. We have a very easy. I will leave it up to you to spot it. If you were the genius that found this move, you played yourself. If you're the genius that thought this was a good idea, you played yourself. Okay, no, but the best move, I will leave it to the audience to find out and enjoy. This is the easiest move of my life. So next idea. By the way, GG, right? For those of you who can't wait, right? So b6, horrible move, right? So let's say they play queen back or queen, let's say queen back, right? e4, and we're playing simple moves. We need to get our bishop out. In some of these Chigorin lines, we don't know where this bishop really belongs. We don't know if we want to play it on f4. We don't know if we want to play it on g5. In most cases, I like to play g5, or sometimes I will even play bishop f4 and let them take it so I can have more control over e5. Ruining my pawn structure, yes, but my knight on e5 is going to be such a powerhouse that it doesn't matter. Next, let's go back into that first line. What happens if they play knight f6, right? To knight f6. We follow the same lines and we wait for d5. Sometimes they play c5, right? And they can transpose into a different opening altogether. Great, we don't care. We're going to follow our same lines because the same break, if they're playing this almost in a Sicilian fashion, is to play d5. And we're going to play d3 whenever they do. Right? So knight c6, c3, and we're looking to play either d3 or d4 at some point. Right? Say they play bishop e7. They could actually play d5 right now, d3, right? And if they take, we always take back with the pawn, obviously, because here, so here, bishop d7 and castles, right? And here, pretty standard, it's equal, and we're looking for the same idea. In this case, it's a bit more closed. We still haven't released tension. I found a lot of success in these lines, sometimes taking or playing here, depending on what they do, right? So we're looking for good piece placement. Sometimes we can even play knight a3, knight here, right? Sometimes we can play bishop e3, sometimes bishop f4, sometimes bishop g5. I will leave it up to you. It's your style and how you want to play. Practically speaking, I like to move e4 here. Sorry, e4 or e5, then play knight here, and maybe we can play some other moves. Maybe like play c4, trying to hit this center and play this. Now that my bishop's open, now I can actually fight, right? Totally up to you how you want to play it. This is the way that I usually play it. But I think this opening is understudied, and me giving you the answer is not letting you do your homework. Although I could give you all the answers in the world, that's not going to make you a better chess player. Memorization doesn't make you a better chess player. Memorization just makes it easy to get into the next stage of the game, which is middle game and your own thoughts and ideas. So good luck with this. I hope that you have a lot of fun. So I think any opening and English opening Karpov variation could basically be combined into one, right? So let's go over it. e4, e5, g3. What is it? Knight c6, bishop, knight c3, bishop c4, knight f3, knight f6, d6, d3, castles and castles, right? Yasosaro has a really good lines in this opening specifically. And one of his main ideas is just to play rook b1 and play b4, b5. It's because this bishop wants to attack here and you want to make this bishop super active, right? I think you have a play for both, right? I think it's how you want to play. I think a3, rook b1, b4 makes a lot of sense. a5, b3, rook b1, and then playing this kind of idea makes a lot of sense. Yasosaro had a lot of success in his earlier chess combative years with this line, or with these lines. This is what he used to play. This is his bread and butter. This is how he attacked every person. By the way, for those of you who do not know Yasosaro, really amazing chess player. Was never one of the world's greats, but definitely one of the best people in chess, and did a lot to help St. Louis Chess Club become what they are today because of his chess lessons. This is one line that he used to play a lot. So if I were to suggest something, I would play a3, and if they play a5, so let's say they play like something like this, bishop d7, right? I would go for a3, and if they play a5, then play b3 first. Very important. That way we can play rook b1 and b4. We can't be too hasty by playing rook b1, right? Because in some lines they might have this. Not right now, but in some lines. I like playing b3 here. That way you just don't make sense. But here you can even play b3. a5 looks committal, but I mean in a5, this is a very typical move for these kind of positions. Very typical move. Because if you don't play that, right? Let's say you play something like this, right? Queen c8, or maybe let's say you play bishop e6 to play something like here. All I see is that I want to make my bishop really strong. So even here, I would look for something like rook b1. But I really want to play a3, but I have to look for their breaks. Their break is to play d5, right? I cannot ignore what they want to do, right? And so before, and I think we even have e4 immediately we're asking this bishop where they want to go, and maybe here, this looks really strong for white. Pish, right? So I really like this idea, and so this is a very simple middle game idea, right? Bishop h6, simple. I don't have to go for d5. That's not my only idea, right? I can play maybe here in f5, right? Like d5 is not the only idea that I have in the position for black. Meanwhile, this is not the only idea that I have here. I also have e3, d4, right? I can look for something like this as well. But I don't like this idea because you open the d file and then maybe they have a surprise e4 sometimes. So you got to be careful. I think I've covered it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Sub to me right now. I need money. I need money. Help me.